In this lesson of the graph for near, we're going to take a look at the subgraph manifest. So what is a manifest? And last time we used an example of an orchestra where you have many different instruments all kind of working together, and they need to work together in order for the music to sound good. So you can think of the manifest as the conductor who stands in the middle and then coordinates all the instruments as they're working together to make that music. So take a look in your folder structure here, go down to subgraphs where we clone the subgraph and scaffold it out, and open up the subgraph.yaml file, which is the manifest file. It's been pretty heavily commented here, so it should be fairly straightforward to understand, but we'll point out a couple of things. Starting at the top, spec version generally stays the same. Description, that'll be the name of your subgraph. And the repo is basically where you're storing the code for it. Schema, this points to the schema file, which is something we'll be looking at in the next lesson. And then we have data sources. And for near, or for the kind, for near, you need to specify near here. Name, we're looking at the receipts, but it could also be blocks. And the network, near mainnet, as mentioned previously. Currently, the graph is only working with the near mainnet. Testnet is probably in the works as well. Under source, this is where it becomes important. Account is the contract account that you want to pull data from. So the one that we have deployed, the did registry contract, is called did.near. So that's the one the subgraph is going to listen to. And then we have something called start block, which is the starting block on near mainnet for indexing. So if near produces a new block about every second. So if you definitely want to set your start block to the point at where you've deployed your contract, or the point where you want to start indexing data on that contract. If you try and do it from Genesis, it's going to take a very long time for the indexing to get up and synced with the near mainnet. So keep that in mind as you're building your subgraphs. Under mapping, we have another API version. The language stay the same. File, this is where the mapping file is located. So if you change the scaffolding structure, you'll need to change that. But right now it's in source, mapping.ts. And we have two entities that we're going to be defining in the next lesson. So account and log. Basically any of the entities that you define in your schema file will need to get listed here. And then we have the handlers. So in this case, we have a receipt handlers, one handler called handle receipt, and that's a function that we will define in our mapping later on. You could also have block handlers here. The graph for near indexes both blocks and receipts. And if you want the block information, then you need to define a block handler, and receipt handlers, obviously you need the receipt there. So yeah, that's the subgraph manifest. Pretty straightforward, heavily commented, so it should not be too much of a problem figuring it out. That we'll end that there, and we'll talk about the entities and the subgraph schema in the next lesson.